Jawbone VR asks, will you be able to transfer your Quest 2 games to your Quest 3? Absolutely. Anything you've got on your Quest 2, you're going to be able to instantly install once you get your Meta account over on your Quest 3. For some people who are keeping their Quest 2, you'll actually even be able to play some multiplayer games together with someone on your Quest 2 and you now on your Quest 3. Any sort of free multiplayer games will work, and some other ones still work, but they have gotten a lot better about making it so you can't use the same account on two of them at the same time. So it has to go on a game-by-game basis to check out which ones are going to work, but you'll easily be able to bring everything you've been playing on Quest 2 and even your progress over to Quest 3. African1 asks, does it still have the danger of breaking at direct sunlight? If your Quest 3 has its lenses exposed to sunlight and they get in there, yes, it can absolutely destroy the headset. Those lenses are like magnifying glasses, and if you've ever taken a magnifying glass to ants as a kid, you psychopaths, then you've seen what happens to them. Same thing can happen to your lenses on the inside, and it can happen extremely fast. People who have taken their headset outside for 10 seconds or less even have burned holes in the screens on the inside and dead pixels after that. Another important factor to consider here, they're saying that you shouldn't take this headset outside and play it in sunlight because they claim the sunlight can damage the outer sensors on it. Now, I've taken my Quest Pro outside and played it and it still worked okay after that, so I'm not positive if they're saying that just because they don't want you to have it outside for the risks of danger, liability, or obviously if you take it off, the sunlight can get inside the lenses, but it is something to be aware of. They claim that it will damage the outer ones. Maybe that's something to do with prolonged exposure while the cameras are on trying to monitor your surroundings. Thalia says, hi, no one has talked about the backwards compatibility. Will the games look better or just the same? Regards, Phil. As we addressed already, all games are backwards compatible in case you're asking about that. The games out the gate should all look a little better due to that higher resolution. Until they are optimized for Quest 3, they're not going to make huge strides, although pretty much every developer I've talked to that has an active game right now is working on Quest 3 optimization. So a lot of them are suddenly going to get big boosts in clarity, much better graphics. And as we saw, even a game like Red Matter 2 taking all the power of the actual headset has made it look incredible on the Quest 3. Every game right off the bat should look clearer, but many of them are going to look a lot better once they start utilizing the extra horsepower that the Quest 3 has. Zertek asks, should I buy games on Quest 3 or Steam? With my Quest 2, I bought some games on Steam for better graphics. Unless the developers have really optimized a game for Quest 3, it will still look better on a PC. It just has more power, better graphical performance. Personally, I keep buying most of my games on Quest because even though they may look better on PC, it's that much more work to hook it up, play it, and I can play them on my Quest anywhere. Also, there are a fair number of games that if you buy them on Quest, you can still install the Rift version on your PC, so you get both for that single price. The only thing that usually leads me to buy games on Steam anymore is if I really want to work on making some sort of mixed reality. Works a lot better with the Steam versions usually. Tinksy asks, what about the depth of field / draw distance? Is it still a blurry mess like the Quest 2, or nothing is readable beyond a certain point? Can't wait to go on Google Earth with Quest 3. The resolution jump, the pancake lenses, the pixels per degree, everything feels a lot better on the Quest 3. Biggest thing you're going to notice in menus, when you pick up an object in game, text, everything close to you is really readable. You are still going to run into that draw distance issue where when you look at things out in the distance, eventually you're going to be able to see each pixel apart. Like in Assassin's Creed when I was in it, everything looked as good as the headset would allow with the higher resolution, as in you could kind of tell where each texture ended. It wasn't like, oh, it's blurry at the edge. It was like it stops and it's a sharp line. But when you looked out in the distance, something like a line running down a ship, that was clear. That was like, it looked a little blocky all the way up because at that point the pixels couldn't get small enough to make it look like a smooth line and it looked a bit more jaggy. Still a huge improvement over the Quest 2, but to get to the point where everything looks smooth even in the distance, I think we'd have to have much higher resolution panels even still. They're saying it's like 2.2K per eye, and I think at 4K per eye it might be to the point where even things in the distance look sharp still. Harvey Tasks asks, do you know where the infrared LEDs are on the controller face? How easily can they be obscured? Now, yes, we can see even from some of the aftermarket grips that are coming for it where the holes are for those IR lights. They're not something you're really going to obscure too easily even by moving your thumb. The problem is if you tip your wrist away, you could essentially hide all of those. At that point, the headset's still going to be tracking your hand, your wrist, your elbow, so it should still have a good approximation of where the controller is. The surprise is that there's one more IR light on the bottom of the controller for certain angles when you have it out in front of you or up above you to try to see that. That one will be obscured easily, not only potentially by your hand, but any sort of grips that aren't accommodating that light, as it's not super commonly known that that is there. Jonathan Medical says, my Quest 2 has a very small sweet spot for clarity. If either eye is slightly too high or low, it's pretty blurry. Unfortunately, they have one eye about a millimeter higher than the other. It's not something you notice looking at them, but in VR, it can make you not have the sweet spot on both eyes. Pancake lenses are much better, much bigger sweet spot, even to the point where when I've used it on the Quest Pro, if it's set to my IPD, which is 69, but even if someone's bumped it down to 66 or it's up to 70, I don't notice that the IPD is off unless it's really off. It's a much bigger sweet spot, and even vertically, it's still bigger, but not as big as it is horizontally. So with your two eyes, I do believe you'll be able to get a comfortable fit to where you'll get in the sweet spot in both of them. The only problem would be if you had a really wide IPD like a 71, which is at the max range, because as you move those out further, the sweet spot is going to still be in the center and your eyes would be further off from that sweet spot. But as long as you're in a more common IPD range, you should be able to get the sweet spot on both of the lenses. Swicker Waffles asks, are graphics of games like Gorilla Tag instantly going to look better? The resolution on the Quest 3 is going to make all games look better, whether they're optimized or not. But a game like Gorilla Tag is kind of an exception to where it will look better and sharper, but just like if you take Minecraft from 1080p to 4K without doing anything to the textures or changing it, you can still see that it's blocky graphics. A bigger part of it even than the actual graphics though is those pancake lenses. They're so clear, there's so few distortions, God rays, and other things that have probably been distracting on the Quest 2 that you might not have really noticed, that overall everything is just going to look way better. If you're coming from the Quest 2 to the Quest 3, as I've said before, it's going to feel like a huge leap when it comes to the visuals and the optics. Bluebell asks, do you think a third party could produce a face gasket for the Quest 3 to mimic the Pro? I absolutely love the openness of the Pro. Of course, referencing how with the Pro, the lenses float above your face. There's complete visibility outside of the headset on the whole bottom side. A face gasket? No, but a head strap actually is what you would need to pull this off. And Bobo VR is already showing off their M3, which you can get directly for the Quest 3, or you can get the conversion to take your Quest 2 one over to the Quest 3 for a much lower price. There's actually people like Lipnox VR who do this all the time, even on the Quest 2. Because that strap is able to put the weight on your forehead instead of on your face, you can just remove the whole face gasket altogether, let the weight rest on the head strap on your forehead, and then push those lenses as close to your eyes as you want them to, like the Quest Pro. And then you'll have all the openness, the new optics, the comfort of having the weight off your face, and a lot less bouncy and heavy of a headset on the front. So I think this will actually be an option some people will do and will actually really like it that way. Michelson DAG asks, do the knuckle straps allow you to use wrist straps at the same time? Referencing those new Meta-owned knuckle straps that hook onto the controller. No, these are not going to be used simultaneously with the wrist straps. We actually asked at the Meta demo store at Connect, and we got to see how these are installed. These completely replace the original wrist straps by using that same slot the wrist straps slid into, and then they hook onto the top of their own battery door. I personally don't think you'll really need them. With those hand straps on there, they hang onto your hands tight, and even if you wanted to quickly remove a controller, you could just put your pinky through that other one and hang it off your other hand to have one hand free. From my experience with them so far, I think that is going to be an immediate replacement to switch out those wrist straps with these, because I don't really care for those wrist straps anyways. I know some people like the wrist straps, so it does look like you're going to have to pick or choose. There would probably be a pretty easy way though. Put the wrist strap through the hand strap and then put it in through itself, and you could probably pretty easily make a way to use both if you really needed to. Maynard Keys asks, will you be able to use the Quest 2 controllers with the Quest 3? Unfortunately, no. Quest 3 will only work with the Quest 3 controllers or the Quest Pro controllers. The Quest Pro controllers obviously being considered an upgrade to it, although I will warn you, because we've had some issues with the Quest Pro controllers and they haven't always wanted to stay synced, losing connection, drifting. I would wait a bit on considering upgrading to those Pro controllers and seeing how do they sync up with Quest 3. Do they work well? We'll definitely be doing some tests and reporting back for you. Zoinkwil asks, which is better, a Quest 3 or a grilled cheese sandwich? Now, the Quest 3 modern VR headset, all kinds of amazing improvements over the previous generations, wireless freedom. A grilled cheese sandwich can sustain you and keep you alive though if you're suffering, and depending on who makes the grilled cheese sandwich, it could be world class, it could be amazing. Personally, if I had to pick right now, would someone rather hand me a Quest 3 or a grilled cheese sandwich? I'm gonna take the Quest 3, but a grilled cheese sandwich can hit the spot if that's what you're looking for.
I'll trade you my shirt for a grilled cheese.
We are only 3 days from launch now, so drop any last questions you have here. I'll try and make sure I can answer as many of them as possible in that final launch video, and I will see you in another reality.